The future is unpredictable unless you get to choose it. We often lose sight of that power and forget to use it, blinded by all the confusion and media illusions, politics and politricks. They be playing horse and riding us like the elephants. Saddle us right up to the polls for elections, where the lesser of two evils seems to be the only selection. Before you punch your selection, be mindful of the lives lost at the cost of this future election. What if Ahmad could jog to his local polling place? Remember to go out and vote just for his name's sake and for every person those officers kill, because November 3rd is not just election day, but it's the day we shift the narrative. Be firm in your decision. Make it plain and make it clear. Black lives matter, but too many black votes is a fear that matters to them. 18 or older, savages or thugs, your right to vote is just as valid as any of the rest of us, from the blocks to the voting booths. It's time we teach the power of voting to the homies and to the youth. Damn they debates, forget they disputes. America won't be great again as long as systematic racism resides under her roof. Whether our hands are up or bound, white supremacy never stands down. It's always on standby. So we gotta stand up, band together, and realize that there has always been less of them and more of us. This time is crucial. Get registered in your communities and become more aware of your local elected officials. Too often we complain and lack luster when it comes to the resolve of real issues, because the power to create change begins with the change in you. Researching, learning, voting, connecting, researching and learning about who you're voting for before electing them. No more blind leading the blind. The new leader of this free world is left for you to decide. Go, vote now.
The Crucial 30.
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 It's the Crucial 30.
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 Hello, world. We are in our last week up until the upcoming election, guys. And I am here today to talk to some amazing young folks, guys. Today, we give the platform to Gen Z. I'm not sure what the new word is. Back in my day, it was tight, but guess what? Today it is, I think it's lit, but we're going to go ahead and clarify that when we bring them up one by one. But guys, this is the Crucial 30 brought to you by the Narrative Shift. And guys, today is the day that we allow our youth, I say youth because they're all old enough to be my kids, but our youth to speak. And so guess what? We are going to start one by one and bring them up so that you can hear just a little bit about them before we start our crucial conversation. Are you guys ready? I hope you are. Up first is Ayala. Ayala.
Hi.
Welcome. How are you?
I'm great.
Awesome. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, my name is Ayala Gideon. I'm from South Jersey, specifically Galloway, New Jersey. I currently go to Rowan University here in Glassboro, and some involvements on campus that I'm the director of social activities for the Student University Programming Board. I'm also the Assistant Vice President of Diversity, Equity, Inclusion for the Student Government Association as well. I'm a first-generation college student. We have something called Ascent EUF student. I'm that as well. My parents are immigrants, and, I helped them achieve their citizenship. So, my journey is always moving, but I always had to, give it up for my Haitian family, Sapasa, how we do.
I love it. I love it. Our Haitian brothers and sisters out there.
Yes.
Stand up, guys. Ayali said one thing that she was missing off of that conversation. There's one thing that's on her sweatshirt right now that connects both of us. What is that?
Well, I'm also proud to say I'm a sister of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated.
Do y'all hear me? My sisters of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. Guys, you better share this, because guess what? We are live and we got 2 sisters that are on the screen right now. So Ayala, thank you so much for sharing your journey and who you are. Next up, we have Devin Calvert. Devin Calvert. Hey, Devin. I must say, I have to disclose. Hello, brother-in-law. How are you?
I'm pretty good. How about you?
Doing good. Devin, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, as my beautiful sister-in-law stated, my name is Devin Calvert. I am a junior psychology major in sociology. My friend is Mary, and I'm just glad to be here. I'm glad to be able to talk about things that I feel that we need to talk about.
Awesome. I love it, Devin. Devin, you are a psychology major. So, you said junior year. What are you going to do after college? What are you planning on doing?
After college, after I do want to attain my master's degree. And after I attain my master's degree, I want to work in the educational field, as far as like working with kids who feel like they don't have anyone to talk to at home.
Awesome.
I know a lot of broken homes don't have anyone they feel like they can necessarily tell their problems to or lead them in the right direction. And I want to be that beacon for those kids.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much, Devin. I'm going to put you backstage. And up next is another brother, Clarence. Clarence, I'm bringing you to the stage. What's going on, Clarence?
Hey, how you doing? Everything's good over here. I'd like to say my name is Clarence Nichols. I'm a senior at USM down here on the coast of Mississippi. That's University of Southern Mississippi, if you don't know. I'm currently majoring in marine biology. Let's see, I'm intern with the EPA. Let's see, that's the ORISE Institute thing. What else? That's pretty much it. Oh yeah, I'm starting out a community garden right here behind my grandmother's house, which thank the Lord I actually got that property. Like, man, so much prayer. But yeah, that's the thing that's going on.
I love it. So Clarence, so if I get this right, if someone needs to be able to learn from a narrative shift perspective to be able to grow their own food, then we can come to you and you'll know exactly what to sell. Right?
I wouldn't say that. I would just say, come on down. I can just give you some knowledge that I have. I wouldn't say that I know everything, because I don't know anything. The more I try to know things, the more I know, the more I get to know knowledge, the more I know that I know less. So yeah.
Hey. Keep on trucking forward. Keep on trucking forward. So, all right, y'all. Thank you so much, Clarence. I'm going to put you backstage. And last but not least, Ariel. Hello, Ariel.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes. Ariel, tell us a little bit about yourself. And guys, let me say, you did see her twin, Ariel and Ayala. So just want to make sure that you guys are understand that when they come on the stage and everything. But Ariel, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes, thank you so much again for the opportunity. My name is Ariel Gideon. I serve as the student body president here at Rowan University. So my involvements include that I also serve as the chapter president of the Landale chapter Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. So grateful to be a member since spring 2019. Furthermore, my involvements include that I serve as a admissions ambassador. So I give campus tours and assistance with our Office of Admissions. And then also, I'm a radio, TV, and film major. I'm a senior. So glad to, close out my college career here at Rowan University.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So again, guys, my AKA sisters out there, we have again another Sarah that is on the screen. And I just appreciate all of my college students that are showing up tonight to have their voice be heard. So thank you so much, Ariel. Thank you so much. So I'm gonna put you backstage before we go live, before we get into the conversation, you guys. There's a lot of times where our Gen Z does not get a voice. And so you're gonna hear less of me tonight and more of them. I want them to have a platform that truly understands what this next generation is all about. I hope that you are ready. Everyone is going to come up in our studio. Awesome. You guys are all here. So our first questions as we dig in, guys, is why is this election? You have a major election less than a week away. Actually, 1 week from today, we are going live as far as going to the polls to see who is going to be in office for the next 4 years. And so from that perspective, why is the election so crucial from Gen Z?
Well, I guess I'll start off. We are statistically rising to be one of the largest voting blocs since, I believe, 2008 of our younger generation during that age range. And as you can see, our voices are being heard one way or another, whether that be all the platforms we reach or just from our reach as a younger generation. And when we just have to remind ourselves that the power is in our voices. Like when we increase in our numbers, our voice can be heard. We've been leading the protests. We've been rising ways, and we are starting a new generation of leaders. So this is why our generation can uphold and uplift our values in this election.
Yeah, definitely. Who else?
Yeah, that's a great point, Ayala. I'm glad you mentioned that. So this is a huge election that has a lot of spotlight, of course, among our presidential candidates. So just a reminder what our president does as a duty. So our president is responsible for implementing and enforcing laws written by Congress. And so I don't know about y'all, but when it comes to laws, those have a lasting impact on our country. With that being said, with the presidential election, we're looking at the vice president, who's a part of our executive branch and assumes the duties of the presidency if anything happens to our president. So we are thinking about who is our chief of staff, who is the chief executive, our chief administrator, our chief diplomat. That's who our president is. Our president is the chief of the state of our country. So we're thinking of someone who represents the United States, and we definitely want someone who represents all Americans and those who are not of American citizenship, but lives in the United States. So we have to be mindful of who we are electing.
Yeah, definitely.
True, especially on that point of being mindful of who we're electing. We have actually, not only is it just the presidential election, we also have to elect other congressmen and stuff like that. So to know those local lawmakers and understanding who those local lawmakers are, and you have to understand who they are in order to voice your opinions on things and stuff like that. So you really want to make sure that you know who your local officials are.
Mm-hmm.
Because some of them coming out of office, and then the ones that probably did bad last term, you don't want them back into office. So
definitely. Yeah, definitely. And so, when you think about just, those are all good points, because it's not just about the presidential election. These are our local officials and our police chiefs. And even from a law perspective, I'm glad that you said that, because there's so much at stake. People think that they're just going to the ballot to only have cast their ballot for two individuals. And there's so much more than just that. And so, when you think about the next 4 years, you all are all in your respective fields. You're in radio and television. You're in psychology. You're in marine biology. You're in all of these different fields that you are going into. What topics are essential for you when you think about the next 4 years as you enter into the real world?
Climate change. Like, man, that thing is real. Climate change is real. There's been multiple data, statistics, all that stuff has just been blatantly put out there, and our current president has just said, no, it's not real. Like, wait a minute. Well, I don't necessarily want to vote for a person that would deny factual information that's just been given out by factual information about climate change. Like, man. And then being in marine biology field, there's a thing called I forgot what it's called, but anyways, things that operate in things that operate in an ecosystem need certain things, and plastic and all that stuff being inside the marine biology environment and stuff like that. Just the microplastics and things that we need to get away from. And I believe that there should be some things, some laws being placed to regulate these types of things. But yeah, climate change is one of the major effects of the next 4 years, like being self-sustainable and figuring out things to help our small communities out instead of just looking at the bigger picture, because when you start small, that's when everything else grows, just like a seed.
I agree. With climate change, especially, I believe on like the general population perspective, we've been upholding our half, but we definitely need to put more pressure on these large companies and certain countries who haven't implemented these laws. Like, I don't know about you, but I recycle and I switched over to almond milk, but that overall is not going to help change the overarching fact of that our layers are depleting, you know. And so I really need to see a push from Congress of legislation being put in place to start some preventative measures, because right now what's happening is not enough. And I feel like we've been upholding our half. We need to see the same from other corporations as well.
Yeah, that's a great point. If I can highlight climate change, I definitely will, as like a topic that's really important to like our generation. But also when you think about what is the actual system, if you look out, okay, how old is America, right? And you see like things that have been changed over the years. There's a lot that needs to get done, because we're looking at who does the system benefits, right? So if you're not like to be honest, a white male, this system doesn't really doesn't benefit you. Not just a hardcore truth. And you're looking at our judiciary system. So if you think about, of course, this election is over-encompassing, is more than the presidential election. But you have to look about, okay, what does the president do that affects us? So one thing that the president does is that they're in charge of one of the processes of nominating and appeals for these circuit judges and so forth. And they're the ones who are going to be, establishing that law for the United States. So if we're looking at, okay, we got to see who's the president we're electing that will look in the ways of making sure that they're reforming the things that need to be reformed. So if you're looking at it, we definitely need to see more discussions about about our country and our laws, and see how is it benefiting us in 2020, not in 1845, not in 1912, but in 2020. Like, what things are going to be done now?
Exactly.
I will also mention, just being a college student is about to graduate soon, our country's $1.6 trillion in debt for student loans. And honestly, I just believe that's embarrassing, especially since there's other Western countries who are advancing with their technology and how their college systems is in place, where their students are basically graduating no debt, and they're able to penetrate these job fields and, excel and whatnot, and wouldn't have to worry about the constant strain of student debt on your back, unfortunately. And I believe that has to be one of those things that change, because how are we supposed to improve our environment, run for things, be prosperous in our fields when we have this, debt hanging over ourselves? So I definitely want to see some change in that. From one of my research on some of the candidates, there's certain candidates who are rooting for that. But as I mentioned, a lot of things can't get passed, because as much as we vote for our president on top, it starts with our senators and our Congress men and women to start that change. So yeah.
No, definitely. And often I take a different approach, because it is so very important to look at just everything, guys. Our kids should not have to go to school for 4 years and then come out and be in so much debt that they can't survive. Let's be real. I have a master's degree. I have 2 master's degrees. And guess what? I am in debt, not because I don't want to be, but because I'm trying to further my education. And just think about how our young kids feel, especially in the middle of a pandemic, having to come out, find a job, and still pay back student loans. Our candidates. Like, are you listening to what our young folks are saying? They're saying that climate change is real. They are saying that, guess what? The debt is real. They're saying that, guess what? The systematic injustice in our world is real. So which one are you going to choose and hold yourself accountable to? Because I'm going to tell you something, candidates, and I'm talking to every last one of you. I'm talking to every last one of you. Guess what? We will hold you accountable beyond just the next 4 years, but for the rest of the time that you are a politician. Yeah. Guys, it's real. So, you know,
I really appreciate it. Like,
what'd you say, Devin?
I appreciate that sentiment because I was saying I appreciate that sentiment because I feel like honestly, like the misrepresentation as far as like just being like being black in America, I feel like we are under like underrepresented as far as like in the judiciary system, as far as like getting jobs, as far as like, you know, being accepted in the schools, like things of that nature. I feel like we're very misrepresented, and I feel like it's time for a change. Like, this isn't Jim Crow, this isn't 1845. We aren't slaves anymore. We're not these Neanderthals that you guys paint us out to be. That's not who we are. We're doctors, we're lawyers, we're mothers, fathers, children's children. We are equal people, just like you got. Like, it says that all men should be treated equal. All men are created equal. That's what they say, but that's not how they treat us. And I just feel like that's
with that.
Yeah, I mean, Devin, I know you cut out there. We're gonna, you know, everyone is on their campuses, and so we're hoping that all the college campuses make sure you at least get the right internet services. Come on, guys. But Devin, we'll get his feedback, anything. But you know, to sum up what he was saying is just, guys, you know, our children matter. You know, and I say my children because you all are old enough to be my kids. But when you think about the Gen Z, guess what? It is our future doctors, our future lawyers, our future business owners. And so why are we not listening? Why are we not listening to our next generation? And so, you know, with that being said, the narrative shift focuses on 4 core areas. We're not a political organization, and nor do we endorse any candidate. Let me go ahead and put that out there. But we focus on financial stability, education, protection, and mental health. Knowing all of these 4 core areas, how do you see them integrating in a vision as it relates to Gen Z?
Well, I believe, like, just from your core values, that should set the standard of how other countries and conglomerates operate in the real world. Because as we see, these various core areas, they impact our daily lives. Everything from mental health, we see now that we're taking priority towards that. More encouraging quotes from everywhere, or even encouraging the fact that there be just even more open conversations about mental health means the world for our generation, and we just have a little bit more of an understanding towards that. I can't say the same thing about my parents, but you know, we're just making certain strides towards that, of course. You know, so I just believe that should just be the standard everywhere, because it's a step in the right direction.
Yeah, especially with the financial aspect of that situation, because growing up, I mean, yeah, we're stuff like that, but what can you hear me? Yeah, like,
yes, you're there.
Like, what to do with the money that we do save? Do we put it into a bank? Do we put it into a financial take our money? Do we go to financial institutions? And now I don't know what you guys know, but like, cryptocurrencies is being a major aspect of financial stability for some people, because I know the markets go up and down, but people know how to rig these markets and stuff like that. And that's some things that I believe that we should be teaching ourselves and people underneath us and people above us, just so we can understand how the next financial market is going to start to boom. Because the American dollar, I don't know what you guys know or been paying attention to the American dollar, that thing's just been depleting and depleting and depleting, because Congress has just been printing out money over and over and over again without taking in other monies. And that's just compiling on debt on top of debt. And it's just, we need to get out of that somehow. I don't know how to get out of it, but this election should be geared towards some type of aspect of going on the up instead of going on the down, with this American dollar being the way that it is.
I agree. It's like a recent thing society where we have to feel like we need to reach alternate avenues of income just to survive in this world. Like no longer does it cut just having the one job. You need job A, job B, job C just to make it out here. And honestly, it wasn't, as we know, wasn't like that before. But yeah, we always feel like we have to reach these different avenues just to like survive, and that's not necessarily fair.
Yeah, so we were talking about financial stability, education, protection, and mental health. So you mentioned how will voting impact this notion? So we have to look about what does the candidates value? Do you see your candidates valuing those things? And you mentioned the next generation should not be under mountains of debt. Definitely not. If you look, I talk to my fellow peers like, someone mentions that they're going to graduate so much student loan debt. That shouldn't be, you guys. There's always conversation like, why isn't Generation Z or millennials buying houses? Why not this and the third? Well, we have tons of crippling debt on our backs. The last thing we could think about is buying a home and so forth. So we're looking at candidates who will support us, whether it's student loan forgiveness and so forth, just plans in place to, get that debt out of our back so we are able to be productive in society and we're able to contribute to our country's economic wealth per se. But that's something we definitely have to keep in mind, is like, okay, what does the candidates offer? Because there's a lot of talk, but we definitely got to see a plan. And I think that's really evident if you look at any candidate's website or social media. They'll try to target towards us via social media about what plans they have in place. So definitely everyone on this call, pay attention via social media, because that's one of the ways that we definitely try to reach out to us via social media. Twitter, Instagram, they're looking at ways to reach out to us. So I think that's really great how candidates are looking at new ways to making sure that they're getting their plans out to us.
And it's real interesting just because, when you talk about just from a financial standpoint of the dollar, when you're talking about it from a standpoint of the debt, can we discuss the stress level of Gen Z? Can you discuss how hard it is growing up in just America right now? Like, how does that feel to you guys?
Honestly, I think me personally, I think it's the most stressful thing that I've ever done in my life. And I've been in some pretty tight spots in my life. And as far as trying to be an adult with things like student debt or just debt in general hanging over your head, just growing up today, it's just honestly it's stressful. And we're not given we weren't given the same opportunities, we weren't given the same resources that people got 10, 20, 30 years ago. But we're held to the same standard. It's just and then people look at Generation Z and they look at us like, oh, you guys are lazy, or you guys don't know, you don't have any values. No, we have the values. It's just we can't do what you guys were able to do because we weren't afforded the same rights, the same opportunities you guys were.
I think you hit a chord. Let's talk about that. Let's talk, because all of you all shook your head at the same time. I've heard it. People have said, "Oh, Gen Z is just lazy." Can we talk about just that word lazy? Doesn't it just irk you? Talk about that, guys. I saw all of you guys' response.
Man, Gen Z is not lazy, beyond lazy. I mean, we go teeth and nail, we're clawing at everything that we need to get after. But it's just the matter how to actually aspire. I mean, man, it's a lot. It really is. We deal with a lot on our shoulders, and then expecting, with some of us being the first college students in our generation, we don't even know how this college system thing works. We go in there just blinded. Okay, so we're supposed to get these types of classes. So, okay, what is this class going to do for me? Supposed to do after this? How are we supposed to adapt with this new technology and get into these college classes? And then we're so used to being in classes where okay, so the teacher gives you this assignment and they're actually face to face with you. Now it's over laptops, and who wants to stare at a screen all the time? Like, your eyes start to strain, and like, we're supposed to be doing all these things, being the I guess the Zeus of generations. I mean, I'm gonna call it that with Gen Z, but we're supposed to be the Zeus of all these generations, and we're given all these things. It's like asking the Lord for a prayer, for a blessing, and he showers down all these blessings on you. You don't know what to do with all these blessings. Like, sometimes you got to figure it out. It takes time, and people want to see something now, or an instantaneous thing. Is not going to happen that way. It takes time. Things take time, and they're calling us lazy just because they don't see the actual shift that we're trying to actually do. Like, we have to actually put forth the effort. Yes, we're going to be putting forth the effort, but give us time to actually see the effort that we have been putting into this whole thing called life. But yeah, that's my whole take.
You're over there preaching. Ladies, what do you have to say about the word lazy as it relates to the Gen Z generation?
Yeah, it's funny to assume for people to call us lazy. Like, why would they even have the audacity to do so when, as Clarence mentioned, we're out here putting in the work, you know? Because when I look at the things that our generation has done, adaptation, we are looking at ways to adapt to this world that, you know, that has been placed on us. And we're looking at ways to make sure that, if you look at the different polls that mentions, like, oh, Gen Z, we're more the accepting generation. We bring more mindful of people's identities and who they are, and also being mindful, like, you know, just the people around us. Not because most of us are being like social activists. We are full-time college students, and mentioning being a first-generation college student, which my sister and I both are, and it's like, it's definitely not easy because we're out here figuring out things ourselves, you know. Especially since the fact that we weren't given like a big old leap start, you know what I'm saying? So we were giving a head start. We if you look at the different gaps between different other groups and generations, like we weren't given that head start. So we're catching up. We're looking at ways to make things better for everyone, not just for ourselves. So, you know, it's a slight little burden on our backs, but, you know, we're being mindful of them. We're just trying to be mindful of everyone. We're trying to be inclusive of others. We're not trying to exclude anyone. We're not trying to just do better than everyone else. We're the generation that's trying to be inclusive of everyone.
I agree. Like, we were being molded at like important times in our life during huge financial crisis, and like you see, our generation was during the time of like quarantine, COVID, and, you know, civil unrest was during pivotal times in our lives, like during college or when we were graduating and stuff. And so during these milestones, we were facing such backlash and, like, you know, economic and civil unrest, and they expect us to, like, oh no, y'all are fine. Like, in my day, we did this, that, and the third. Like, no, we're dealing completely different circumstances, situations people have never faced before. And so I would like some grace. Whoever said that, yes, give Gen Z some grace.
Yes, guys, do you hear this? Like, you know, like we expect our generation, our kids that are tech savvy and that, you know, that have we just expect for them to be ready made. And that's not the case. You know, they have to trust the process just like all of us have. They have to fall. They have to get back up again. They have to start off. They have to start over sometimes. And you're right. Nobody has gone through college in the middle of a pandemic. No one has had to deal with, you know, outside of our older parents and everything. But most of us, you know, we're first generation college students. And so, you know, even to have to deal with the unjust and unrest of having to pick a protest over studying, that is real. It's real. And so, you know, it kind of just brings me to, and you spoke about it earlier. It's like, how do we talk to the young folks? Because I know we've talked to the older folks, but let's talk to your generation. Right now, a lot of folks in Gen Z, you know, if I can assume, are saying, you know what, I'm done with this. I'm tired of y'all calling me lazy. I'm tired of y'all, you know, putting me down. You don't understand who we are, why we're so inclusive. But how do we get you all to the polls? Because the thing is the fact that, guess what? If we don't have your vote, then our future suffers. And so if you had to tell the younger you, or if you had to tell, the colleague or the classmate to get to the polls, how would you do it? How do we get your attention?
Education. You gotta educate them. And I mean, with that being said, you gotta just have your own lingo about it. Like, look, man, I mean, I'm going to the polls because this, that, and the third. Like, I see this congressman is going to be actually looking after my stake in life, and I want this congressman in office. That's why. I mean, just to have like a simple conversation about it. That's what we really need to start doing, is just conversate more about it, because a lot of things get swept underneath the rug. Like, people were talking about, oh, what are you doing today? I'm just chilling, you know what I'm saying? Like, no, I'm not just chilling. I'm actually studying for this, or I'm in the I'm in my garden doing this, like I'm trying to help out my community with this garden, or I'm trying to help out my community by talking to them about their problems. Like, what problems are you facing today? Are you doing well today? What's going on? Have you eaten today? Like some things that we need to start talking about is just going to the polls as well. Like, just putting that into our everyday conversation is what I think is lacking, that what we need to actually start having. Like back in the days, like with Martin Luther King and stuff like that. I mean, on college campuses, they would talk about voting. They would actually talk about going to the polls and write books and have all these protests and stuff like this. Like, that was just their everyday thing to actually talk about civil rights to be actually expressed, or we need to have these civil rights. Like, that was the thing that they would do back in the day. They would have that in their everyday conversation. I think that's what we need to have in our everyday conversation.
That's a great point. One thing you mentioned was everyday conversations. Something that we often hear is like, oh, politics is not a dinner table conversation. Yes, it is. So I took a course called Women in American Politics, as I have a minor in political science. And so one of the things that was pulled was like that if family members have constant conversations about politics during their dinner table, if they have to discuss, it was more likely that their child will get involved into politics. So if we're having these dinner table conversations about politics, then your student, your child, will have even more invested interest into politics and understanding government. A lot of students don't learn about a government so far until they reach the classroom. So if you're taking the time to discuss politics at home, how does it affect the home situation, then they'll have a better understanding of why this is important. For example, like the census, why do we need to be counted? Well, that affects how much funding goes to our services that we have, that affects the hometown. So if you're bringing these conversations to the dinner table, then you'll see an improvement of understanding of politics. So the everyday conversation is very valuable.
I agree. Just like you said, but I always try to lead by example. We see now that with social media was a huge part of a lot of the social justice movements that occurred over this summer, whether it was just the Black Square on Instagram, posting people who have Black Lives Matter in their bio. I could consider that, our social justice warriors on social media and whatnot. But that was a huge push. And sometimes you just got to change your content around what you believe in, because we see now this escapism within millennials and Gen Z, where they only post the best of themselves on social media. Well, now we need to be considerate of the fact that our best of selves we need to consider our future. And sometimes it's as simple as you posting yourself with your sticker, or representing what you believe in on your shirt. I have a Black Lives Matter shirt, of course. Things of that matter. We need to be conscious of our content and how we go about everyday lives, because sometimes the most oppression someone gets on us is just from what our screen says. So yeah.
I feel like, honestly, the need to vote is not something that so I would say, as far as my speaking for my generation, I know people that'll look at voting and be like, nah, I don't think I want to do that. I feel like that's something that we take for granted. That's one of the cultural things we take for granted. Because we never had that right stripped from us. Mm-hmm. So we don't understand the importance of, I can go vote. Most people don't see that. If they're if we were back in the day before Black people actually received the rights to vote, I can guarantee you people would be like, oh, I want to vote. That's just how it is. When you take something away from someone and they finally get it, they understand the importance. We've never had that. Just like if I can be real for a second, you know how like when you get a cold and you lose the ability to breathe through your nostrils, you take for granted all the time you've been able to breathe. So you sitting there like, man, you know, if I can breathe again, I'd be perfectly fine. And we take that for granted. That's why I look at voting. Like, we just take voting for granted. And I feel like we got to stop doing that. Like, we need to vote. We need our votes.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely agree with that point. Even your friend anecdote about having the cold, like you don't know what you're missing until it's gone. But I will like to mention that we do face voter suppression now. You see people waiting hours and hours in line just to vote, you know, and we see some difficulties in the past elections, specifically what happened in Georgia, and in Texas and in Florida, where you see multiple candidates had issues with results, and you know, it was just hour long lines and whatnot. So voter suppression is still very much a very real issue in 2020. And while they may have changed the methods and who impacted, while they changed the methods, they didn't change they didn't change the people who are impacted by it. So yes.
Yeah.
Yes, Iola. I would just want to say that voter suppression has a remix. So back in the 1960s, of course, they had the tests and so forth to have that voter suppression. But just want to quickly say, yeah, voter suppression has a remix in 2020, and that's by people making it difficult when it comes to information or the ballot boxes, and like people have a hard time finding them and so forth. So, you know, voter suppression has a remix in 2020.
Ooh, y'all need to coin that one. Did y'all hear that? Voter suppression has a remix. Guys, only Gen Z could say something like that and it actually be lit. Did I say that right? Or whatever. I'm not going to use the word lit no more. I'm too old to use the word lit. But it's real. Like, I know, love, I understand. I try to stay as young as possible. But guys, like, that's real. Like, it's a remix. Like, it's almost like that old school 90s song that y'all try to steal from us, the beat, and act like it's y'all song. But really and truly, we like, man, that song was Jay-Z back in the 90s. Yeah, it has a remix. Like, it's a remix. But guys, that doesn't mean, serious note, that doesn't mean that you stop voting. Guys, next Tuesday, regardless, and guess what? Let me be real. Next Tuesday is the last day to vote. It's not the first day. So if you're going to get out there and vote, why wait till Tuesday? Now, I understand some people want to wait until the day of, and I respect that. However, at the end of the day, guys, your vote matters. So I know that, you know, we're coming up on time, but I wanted to just throw this out there. And I talked to the panel about just, you know, if they feel comfortable enough saying this, and if you don't, then definitely don't. But right now we're dealing with two pandemics. We're dealing with the pandemic of a health pandemic, and we're dealing with the pandemic of social injustice. From a Gen Z perspective, what do you have to say to the social injustice and systematic racism that is going on in America?
We want our representation. To me, that's the bottom line. We want our representation. We're tired of being singled out as the bad guys, quote unquote. I'm tired of seeing black men shot down or black women shot down in the street for a traffic stop, or sleeping in your home, going on a job, going to the store. I'm tired of that. That's not the American dream. That's not what we want. That's not what your Constitution promises us. It needs to change. That's all I have to say about that. It needs to change.
Yes, there's a point where we recognize, okay, this system has been in place for X amount of years, but I think we need to understand that we need reform. There's no more trying to change a little bit here and a little bit there. We're at a place where we need reform, because we always see how certain systems in place has disadvantaged us. And with that being said, I really want us to recognize how much this affects everyone. Because I think if you feel like you don't need to vote, then you're in a place of privilege, because you don't feel like you're being threatened. That if I feel like I need to vote, then you're in a place of privilege, because you feel like, oh, I'm in a safe space, I'm in a safe bubble, that, oh, I'll be okay if I don't vote. If you feel like you'll be okay, like, oh, whichever way goes to the candidates, you're in a place of privilege. And I think that needs to be recognized, that like people don't want to utilize their privilege and benefit others. Like people feel like, oh, it's just me against the world. I gotta pick myself up from the bootstraps and so forth with that sort of narrative. And having that in place, you're not being mindful of the people next to you. I just think when it comes to the mindset of like, it was just me, myself, and I, that's a dangerous mindset to have. And it's coming from a place of privilege.
Yeah, Clarence, I saw you unmute.
Yeah, man, she hit the hit on the nail right there. Him too. Like we're underrepresented, and people saying that they're secluded, like to vote and be in a place of privilege. Like you guys, you said it right then. Like just the whole social injustice aspect of it is just being black in America is like I there's people like me out there scared to even walk down the street, which isn't even that's not even cool. Like everyone should have the right to live in any place, just the right to live. And being underrepresented in the police force, and not having proper training in the police force, like that needs to be instilled. I've seen somewhere where there should be people are saying there should be a actual course people have to go through to actually be a police officer, or they have to have 2 years worth of training to be a police officer, not just oh, okay, I'm going to the police academy for such and such amount of time, 8 weeks, and then I'm out. No, like you need to be well seasoned into let's see who this person is. Let's see what's going on. Let's go have talks with this person. Let's actually put this person in situations where we have to see how he would actually react in this situation, not let him know that we're watching. And I'm just saying that yes, we're underrepresented, and this is it needs to change. There has to be a change. Something needs to be actually everything needs to be stripped away, and we need to go back to the bare bones of this society and see what we actually need and not what we want. We need needs on this on the ballot list and stuff like that. We need needs on these laws, not what we want. I mean, you can want a lot of things, but what we need to have is a right to live.
I agree. I will say this real quickly. I was able to attend prayerfully a lot of protests this past summer, and what I learned specifically just being an active person is that I'm tired of being seen as someone who can't be reasoned with. Being a college student, I know RAs with better de-escalation points than some cops, as we see, and it's sad, and we're seeing a lack of training. We see a lack of empathy for people with my skin tone. Like it's honestly ridiculous and it's shameful. There's something that needs to change and it's not happening, and it's at the cost of Black lives. And I don't think it's fair at all. And I will protest for change every single day until we see it.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And thank you all so much for your time. Thank you for jumping on. Thank you for your words of wisdom. And as an educator and as a parent, I just want to say I am proud of you. Gen Z, I am proud of you. Do not ever let somebody tell you that you are not good enough. Do not ever let somebody tell you that you are lazy. Do not ever let somebody tell you that you cannot make it. Don't ever let somebody tell you that you can't get up from a fall. And if anybody has never told you that you are not wonderful and amazing, I'm telling you tonight, I and we at the Narrative Shift are proud of you. So guys, I'm going to put you backstage because we have just one last thing to talk about before we leave for tonight. Our college students just spoke about something that was very, very insightful. We need change. We need reform. We want to live. I can't sit here and not think about what happened yesterday in Philadelphia. As the founder of the Narrative Shift and my entire team, we got together and we were like, whoa, we can't be the Narrative Shift and see a young brother that had a mental illness get shot down. We can't be the Narrative Shift and say, hey, one of our core areas is protection and not say anything. Guys, we're tired of being gunned down in the streets. And we're not saying that all cops are bad. Because I'll tell you right now, there's a lot of good cops out there. But guess what? I got one question for every police officer in this entire country. Are you holding everyone in your department accountable? Police chiefs, are you holding everyone in your department accountable? Community leaders, are you holding everyone in your community accountable? Senators and House representatives, are you holding everyone in your community accountable? I don't care who gets in office, but President Trump and Vice President Biden, are you holding everyone in this community, in this United States accountable? Because guess what? The only thing that we want to do is be united. The only thing that we need to do is come together. The only thing that we need and want from everyone is to be able to have the same right to live. Can we breathe? That is the message from the narrative shift tonight. We are not going to end this program the same way that we usually do, because it's too crucial. So we are going to leave you with this, and we are going to tell you that what you're about to hear might not be suitable for all audiences. This is the narrative shift, and this is the Crucial 30.